This is a really simple rule, and you and I can disagree with it. In fact, I do disagree with it.
Sure.
But here is the rule. You can only be exempt for capital gains tax on the sale of your primary residence. And it is a classic dodge to pretend that, in fact, the other property that you're selling is your primary residence and your partner lives in that, and actually you're living parallel lives. It is a load of nonsense. It's quite obvious that she has tried to dodge here, in my opinion. And I think she's in real difficulty.
But this is not the kind of
and
thing
it
that
is
she would
such
resign
a trivial amount of money. And I wouldn't mind so much if it weren't for the fact that Labour is so profligate with our money and proposes ever higher taxes, yet doesn't want to pay them themselves.
What's the purpose of building houses for the homeless if they aren't used as intended? This pressing question was posed by Isabel Oakeshott to Angela Rayner. Currently, housing in the UK, which was meant to provide refuge for vulnerable citizens, is being occupied by migrants. What's even more shocking is that these are the very individuals the system promised to prioritize. This situation has sparked deep confusion and outrage among many. Angela Rayner has pledged to construct 1.5 million new homes. It sounds like a beacon of hope, doesn't it? But here lies the issue. When asked who would truly benefit from these homes, she failed to provide a clear answer. Are they meant for the homeless suffering on the frigid streets of the UK, or will they be allocated to migrants? She dodged specific commitments, leaving everyone in a state of uncertainty. Why is that? This question weighs heavily on the minds and hearts of the public, and it demands an answer.
How can they have left that off? Because talk to anybody, and I know probably I'm in a bit of an echo chamber. A lot of people that I talk to are very passionate about what's happening to our country as a result of the loss of control of our borders. But I think that many Labour voters and many who, aren't sure who to vote feel really strongly about this. So why isn't it at the heart of his agenda? I find that utterly bewildering. And you know what? Every time that he makes a basic mistake like this, those on the other side, those in the opposition parties, literally are privately celebrating. On the one hand, of course, if you're in opposition, you want the country to get better. You don't want to see the country get worse. It's terrifying.
People are outraged, and justifiably so. Homeless families are watching in horror and despair as their hopes for safe housing slip away, replaced by a confusing policy that appears to disregard their needs entirely. This isn't just about dodging questions, it's a profound betrayal of trust. How can anyone have faith in a plan when the most crucial details are overlooked? Isabel Oakeshott doesn't shy away from this issue. She boldly highlights the shortcomings in Labour's promises, stressing that these policies seem to prioritize the interests of politicians over the genuine needs of the people. And she's absolutely right. If these new homes don't prioritize those who are suffering the most, then what's the point?
Where's the fun? It's so bad, isn't it? It is so bad. Listen, we in the media, we're quite easily pleased. We like shiny things, we like flashy backdrops, we like something different. He could have made a joke. He had this lame joke at the beginning about how, he might turn into James Bond.
Yes.
Really? I mean, look, if you're going to do that joke, fine, have some kind of self-deprecating, graphics that make you look like a funny James Bond. Honestly, we'd be so pleased with that. We'll lap anything up.
Yes.
Nobody wants to write stories with a picture of a prime minister with a boring red backdrop.
At a time when the country is facing a severe housing shortage and the number of migrants is rapidly increasing, the stakes couldn't be higher. This is the crux of the issue. If the Labour Party cannot provide a clear answer to the simple question of who these houses are intended for, how can they expect the public to trust anything they say? As housing allocation has already sparked intense debate, another significant threat has emerged: illegal migration. Since the Labour Party took power, over 20,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel. This figure is more than double what was anticipated in such a short time frame. And this isn't just a matter of statistics, it represents a tremendous strain on resources that are already stretched thin. Here's the real dilemma. The Labour Party has promised to address this issue, but can they actually deliver? People are demanding action, not just empty rhetoric.
And that more than 5 out of 7 new homes will go to immigrants.
Well, that's not the truth, and that's not the case.
That's what will happen.
Well, that's not the reality, because we've,
where
in
the
particular, in
2.5 million immigrants that are in Rachel Reeves' budget figures going to turn out? Where they're going to live?
Well, there's plenty of housing in the UK, but the houses, especially social
hang on.
affordable
You
homes
can't, on the one hand, say
building.
we've got to build this 1.5 million houses and then say there's plenty of housing already.
There is plenty of housing, Trevor, already, but there's not enough for the people that desperately need it. So the homes, especially under our affordable homes programme, which is social and affordable housing, they will be there for people who desperately need them, local people. We've already outlined how we're going to support veterans and people who are fleeing domestic violence.
Okay.
Councils need homes for people that are on the waiting list. I've already announced changes to the right to buy, making sure they
but this doesn't quite make sense.
so that we can deliver.
The public is now in complete turmoil. If the Labour Party can't manage migration, how can they possibly fulfill all their other promises? With plans to build 1.5 million homes, won't they be overwhelmed even before construction is finished? It's a domino effect, and it feels like everything is collapsing like a house of cards. The issues surrounding housing and migration continue to escalate. The recent decision by the Labour Party to cancel local elections in certain districts has sparked shock and outrage nationwide. Why did the government, just a few months into its tenure, make such a drastic and unexpected move? They assert that this is part of a shift to regional mayors, but critics are skeptical. It appears more like a power grab than a genuine policy change. What's even more troubling is the utter lack of clarity. The Labour Party has failed to provide a single convincing reason for the cancellation of these elections. Most importantly, this decision strikes at the very heart of democracy. Residents in these areas no longer have a voice in selecting their representatives. This isn't just controversial, it raises serious concerns and dissatisfaction. Angela Rayner hasn't helped matters either. Her interview on the subject was riddled with errors, incorrect figures, and misleading facts, which only adds fuel to the fire. How can the public trust leaders who can't even get the most basic details right? Every misstep erodes the credibility of the Labour Party and leaves voters feeling frustrated and hopeless.
Can I just add one figure? 0 chance of turning this around. 0. Because there was a glaring omission in all of that, which is immigration.
Yeah.
It's like number one thing that exercises Labour voters and many others besides.
And indeed Reform UK voters who are doing better than Labour in the polls at the moment.
How could he have left that off? You know, it is so astonishingly stupid that you begin to think, is there something else at work here? Is someone actually plotting to make this party, this leadership, this particular Prime Minister fail?
Keir Starmer vowed to put an end to the migrant boats, but after 5 months, all we see is a complete shift in their approach. What does that even mean? Instead of receiving clear answers, the public is left in a state of even greater confusion and uncertainty. Critics contend that the current surge in border crossings only underscores the ineffectiveness of the new policy. Starmer's leadership is already under scrutiny, and trust in Labour's immigration strategy is quickly eroding. People are beginning to grasp the implications of this situation, and it's concerning. If Labour can't manage illegal border crossings, what does that imply for the housing crisis? All these issues are interconnected like a tangled web. Every new migrant requires shelter, food, and support. With the UK's resources being limited, questions about priorities are becoming increasingly urgent and distressing. This only heightens anxiety and fear for the future. The Labour Party has yet to present a clear plan to address this escalating problem. Promises to combat smugglers and tighten border controls may sound appealing on paper, but where are the tangible actions? 5 months may seem brief, but it's sufficient time to determine whether the plan will succeed or fail. People are calling for action, not just empty rhetoric.
The houses they desperately need.
Deputy Prime Minister, it doesn't quite make sense. You start the interview by telling me that there's a housing crisis. When I remind you that you have said yourselves as a government, we're going to need 2.5 million migrants. Some of them, by the way, people are going to build the houses. Suddenly, there's a lot of housing. Where are these people going to go?
Well, Trevor, first of all, when you say about building as well, the previous government did use migrant labour far too much instead of actually building skills here in the UK. I've announced £140 million for new construction hubs so that we can train people here to deliver those housing. So I don't accept that we're going to bring migrants in for that. We've always said that actually we need to skill our own people up. But equally, we need to build the homes that people need. Nobody's had a focus on social housing for a generation, and I'm going to build those homes because far too many people at the moment are waiting on council housing lists, and I've got to fix that.
I really wish...
There couldn't be a worse time. Public confidence is already hanging by a thread due to the housing and migration crisis, and this latest move is seen as yet another devastating blow. A valid question arises: why now? If Labour can't even explain its own decisions, what's really happening behind closed doors? The housing crisis, rampant migration, and now the cancellation of elections is simply too much to bear. How many more challenges can the Labour Party withstand before its credibility completely crumbles? Keir Starmer and Rayner still believe they can make a difference, but the public is skeptical. Promises to restore trust sound like hollow rhetoric, especially when their policies seem to generate more questions than answers. People are demanding clarity and action, not just empty promises. What do you think about this video? Share your thoughts in the comments and see you next time.